So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Greyum to my show today. He's from the group Keepers Brew. Welcome, Greyum.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. Yeah, I mean, first off, loving the music. And I should have said this before we hit record, but I am actually loving the music.
Oh,
It's
amazing. Thanks. That's kind.
And you were introduced to me by a mutual friend, Emma. Emma Emmons, Total Rock Barnett's Brutal Brunch is the show for anyone of my Total Rock people who listen to this or watch this. Put me in touch with you because you've got a new track coming out.
Yeah, that's right.
Into a moment. I just want to sort of get a bit of an origin story from you, if that's all right, the kind of story so far. Just in as much as this is the sort of first time I've heard of Keepers Brew. But upon doing a little bit of research, you have been around for a while. You've got a couple of albums and EPs out and singles and stuff like that. But yeah, if we could just take it back and sort of just sort of find out a bit about where you came from and stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, kind of prior to Keepers Brew, I'd been in a couple of other bands along the way. I was in a band called Osric Tentacles, which is like a psychedelic progressive band. I was with those, and I played with Firebird with Bill from Carcass. We did that, and so I did a lot of stuff playing bass for other people's bands, and I was also a guitar tech for a lot of people. So it kind of got to a point where it was like, do you know what? I kind of want to see what I can do if I'm left to my own devices and I'm not in the supporting role all the time. Because I was either learning someone else's bits or helping someone else. It's actually, what do I want to do if I kind of do my own thing? So that's kind of how it all started. I thought I'd try and write an album like that. And I think the other main thing was because I've worked in so many different fields of music, I've kind of got quite a wide taste. So that was the other thing, was trying to see how many different genres I could kind of smush together and not, upset too many people. I think that's kind of where it started out. Originally, it was just me. Then as I recorded the first album, I put together a live band, which we did a couple of shows with back then. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I've been doing it for a little while, but with the band, we've kind of gone through a few different identities, and it's kind of been a little bit like that as as things have changed. And I had a bit of a mental wobble halfway through the Keepers Brew period, where I lost my hearing on tour for a while, which was a bit rubbish.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, everything kind of changed a bit, and I put the band on the back burner again. So it's been put on the back burner a couple of times. So even though it has been a long time, I guess each time it's not really been given what it deserved. Whereas kind of at the moment, yeah, I'm absolutely loving it and in a really good place, and full of it.
Excellent. I mean, it's kind of interesting. You're coming from the groups you've already said, Tentacles, things like that, and you're playing bass, and predominantly kind of rock and prog, along those lines. And but this music is very obviously, it's based a lot in electronic music. There are part, you've got organic, if you want to say it, or analog or whatever, instrumentation on there, guitars and whatnot. Going through, I was going back listening to, I think it was one of your EPs from last year, The Flies in the Kitchen.
Oh yes, yeah. That was fun. We did that one with MC Spee from Dreadstone. It was really good fun. That was the kind of first vocal thing we did.
Yeah, and you could definitely hear the mix of styles in that, and obviously coming from Osric Tentacles, I mean, they're way out there. I've heard a few of their albums. You may have played on them, in fact. But yeah, they're a fantastic group, and just sort of like because like a lot of the stuff I hear from it takes me back to my youth, sort of venturing into the dance scene back in the sort of mid 90s, if you will, mid and late 90s. So kind of almost a heyday for electronic music, if you will.
Totally, yeah.
But I mean, I can hear like psytrance, I can hear breakbeat, I can hear drum and bass, I can hear jungle, if you will. I can hear like all those sort of like things. I mean, it took me way back because I used to go to shows and stuff like that when I was youth. When I ventured into the dance music arena, if you will, I kind of had a little bit of a background being a DJ to a certain degree. I was at that point, I was more wedding and roller disco DJ with my brother. So you get a little bit of dance music in there, but it was mainly pop music. And then as I sort of go for my own identity, my friends introduced me to things like Aphex Twin, The Prodigy, things like that, and I discovered things like Ebo Man and just sort of going way back, like people haven't heard of them now, like Goa Trance and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally.
Like a real deep dive into that. And this, like, as soon as I hit play on not the new single, in fact, which we'll talk about, but your previous stuff, I was like, oh my god, that's exactly where I came from. It's got a message. I love rock music as well, so it's yeah, it's just got everything on that front, and it, you know, it's just sort of interesting because, like, coming from that world of I'm guessing, like, rock music, was rock music a thing for you? Was it?
Yeah, mostly rock stuff. Yeah.
And just sort of venturing into this electronic world, if you will, and just having these just this creative urge with those tools. And obviously, you know, the stuff we've got in front of us right now, I can see all your equipment behind you on that front. But, like, where did your love for, like, the electronic side of things come in?
Well, I guess, like, when I was younger, I was always kind of into some of the more crossover stuff, like yourself, like the Prodigy and things like that. You know, it was, that stuff was always kind of, you know, ticking all the boxes. But I think actually it was Osrix that kind of led to that stuff.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of electronic elements in there, and they do have a lot of dancing moments. And then obviously there's a lot of side projects like Eat Static and all these other bands that are kind of live techno acts and all this. So I think it was kind of, I got swept up in all of that. A couple of really spacey evenings with Ed from Osrix, where he basically let me play his synths. And after that, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. I want one of those, you know. So yeah, Osrix was definitely opened my eyes to that, and the idea that, oh, hang on, you can do guitar and dancey stuff, and it kind of works together. So that's kind of how I got introduced, and I think I've kind of, like, the first time I did was a lot more progressive. It was kind of like almost like a regular prog rock album, and then when I did my second album, after I just had a bit of a breakdown on my ears and everything, I was introduced to a local producer, a guy called Adam Goodlett. He's a side chance producer. He produces under the name Recreation. And he helped me with a lot of my mental wobbles and all the rest of it. But he also kind of unlocked the doors to a lot of sound design and synthesis stuff. And so I guess from doing that album to this album, you know, I guess my toolkit got a little bit fuller. I had more things I can kind of pull out the bag, and I had people helping me with that stuff. And yeah, it just kind of ended up more and more in the electronic direction, because you know, working with people that were very good at that. It's been an interesting one, but there's definitely been key people that have kind of okay. And I think with the new album being quite so electronic, I think a lot of that for me was kind of getting fed up with a lot of the sort of gatekeeper behavior that you see from people in certain scenes and genres. That it's like, well, you can't do this because it's not completely techno. You put in this breakbeat here, so that's now a breakbeat track, or you can't add this. And I'm enjoying ignoring all the rules and all the gatekeepers and just smashing all the electronics I can into the rock songs. Nice. So mostly just to annoy people. So yeah,
that's good. That's the best way of doing it. I remember who was it? So going back, Gary Newman. He produced an album, or he's produced many albums, but one of his more recent ones, where it did really well in the electronic music chart. And the people that run that chart were like, you know what? No, it's not dance music, but it's electronic music. You know, it was one of the, and there are a lot of barriers, a lot of gatekeepers, if you will, just like blocking those ways. And predominantly, I mean, you look at Gary Newman, it's all electronic pretty much. You know, he does have like the instrumentation in there, but it is predominantly synth driven. And yeah, just like hearing that sort of story, like those sort of things that do get in the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know a few crossover acts that cross over like metal and dance music or electronic music. I've had a lot of them on the show. It's my main kind of, it's what I like. It's the genre that I love, that crossover sort of sound. But you know, and there are barriers because like not many people in the sort of like, you've only got a certain core in the metal community, you've only got a certain core in the dance community that will put up with it. But then putting them together, it doesn't always work. Sometimes it does, depending on, you know, the situation, but it's like there's a lot of barriers stopping you from being booked on certain things as well.
Totally, you're right, and I have found that on paper people assume they won't like us.
Yes.
But then when they come to a show, they're a convert and they buy all the stuff. But it's like breaking down those barriers. No, it's okay. You're allowed to like us. It's okay. You know.
Yeah, and it was groups like the Prodigy that did that. They kind of brought the punk into it. And you got more recently bands like Pendulum. You know, kind of took that drum and bass crowd and then threw it amongst the rock and metal, and they were playing things like Download and stuff like that amongst amongst those metal bands.
Yeah.
And going back a little bit, you got Pitch Shifter as well.
Yes.
A bit more on the industrial side, but then they sort of refined their sound and became a bit more sort of big room, if you will.
Yeah.
When it came
I'd go that. Yeah.
And there's a few bands too. There's a few new bands as well as obviously you're doing this now. And you got bands like Seething Akira, which are UK based band, the Chemists as well, again another drum and bass crossover. But yeah, no, there is a certain thing, because I have a radio show which obviously I've sort of mentioned to you already, but it specializes in the crossover sound of electronic music and dance music and rock music. And I basically create a mix every week, DJ mix, using my turntables, or depending on the space that I've got, my controller, stuff like that, and producing an hour-long mix of all this music, remixes. I do sort of like my own little cuts here and there as well, not as many as I used to, but just because I think there's something about that sound that is still untapped, like
absolutely.
for a mass audience. And I've been pushing it for a little while, but I'm going to keep going, because I think it is something that is due to pop, if you will. Better word.
I'd agree that.
And because I was part of like a couple of crossovers, like myself, musician back in the day, was in a band, and we were part of a like new metal movement, which was essentially the rap and hip hop and metal. I was the scratch DJ in the band, so I was that element of hip hop, but I had that look metal, if you will, with the beard and the piercing. I had a lot more piercings at one point as well. But yeah, no, it's just like that. You're right. There's gatekeepers, and I remember battling them back then, and I still see them now, even on the sort of journalistic side of things. It's definitely there. But let's bring on, because with your new single, this is a good one to break down those barriers, because you've got someone with you on it. The track is called Olympus Has Fallen, just for everyone who's watching. It's due out on the August the 24th. Is that still?
That's right. Yeah, 24th.
Cool. So that's due out, and do you want to tell the people about it? 'Cause you've got a very special guest on there. So
yeah, we have. I mean, it was mental, because when we wrote the song, the whole point is, I mean, I'll rewind a little bit. Basically, we have a new album we're working on, and we decided that we wanted to have vocal-led tracks, because in the past we've been mostly instrumental. We're like, nah. We've said that we want to like smush together everything, but why are we excluding vocals? Let's just do that as well. And this was one track that we'd come together. We really liked it, because it was quite heavy for us, and it had quite a I don't know, it's quite an aggressive thing. And both Stu, my guitar player, and me, we were kind of sat with a short list of names, and there was one sat right at the top, and we're like, that won't happen. And that was Benji from Skindred. And we're like, he would be absolutely perfect. We could hear his voice on it. It's like, So I thought, well, do you know what? I'm going to push my luck. And because I've worked as a guitar tech for various bands, I know other techs. So I knew a friend of mine worked with Skindred, and I was like, look, I know it's a bit rude and cheeky, but any chance you can put a word in? And Benji got back to us, loved the track, and we had a bunch of conversations, some WhatsApp things, and him singing down the phone at me and all sorts. And it came about. He loved it. We collaborated on it, and he completely took the track and took it to another level. Because even though we envisioned him being on it, what he sung on it was not what I had in mind at all. Where he sung, the phrasing and everything just really raised the bar. So it was really incredible working with him. The talent was insane. Like the takes that he would send over, and the ideas and the stacks of vocals. It's just like such a clear idea and clear vision of how he saw the vocals working with it. It was really nice to watch and be part of.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've known the guys in Skindred for a long time, and it's I know the level that he is at is insane. It is like for the level that the band are at, but the level he's at, if that makes sense, he is like he knows how to do it basically. He came like before Skindred, it was Dub War, which they were on the verge of something as well, and unfortunately that fell apart, but now that's coming back. Apparently he's reformed Dub War and got a new album out next year. Quick plug for that. But no, I knew Skindred back when we used to play shows together with my band. We played a couple of shows in London. Like we played to like 20 people at the Camden Underworld. So it's like kind of like that level we were at. And then watching them just go on, but knowing the sort of the commanding presence that he is, and that he can back it up with. There's just that level of skill.
Yeah, there is, and like I said, that kind of clear idea that he knows what he wants, and that he can deliver it without any kind of there's this supreme confidence because he's got the ability, you know, and he's so lovely with it as well.
No, exactly.
So the full package.
Exactly. And it was no, it was great to hear him on that track. I mean, it is a fantastic track. I've been holding on to it for a little while. Because we've been holding back just sort of so you guys can get your sort of releasing schedule and promotion, all that kind of done. But it's actually going to go out on my show this week. This will go out after the show, so people can go back, and I've got a listen on demand thing as well, so go listen to it. But this will come out before the track is due out, so people can then save it and stuff like that, so people look out for it. I don't know if they can do it at the moment, if you've got that set up or not, but
that isn't set up at the moment, but
it will be. By the time it says, it will be. Just assume it will be. But go pre-save it. Are you guys planning on doing any kind of video for it or anything like that, or have you got?
Yeah, that comes out on the 19th.
19th, cool.
Yes, so the video's out on the 19th. I think Metal Hammer are putting that out on the 19th.
Cool. So that's going to be on
that
there.
Should be good.
Excellent. So that's going to be on their feed. So go check that out, everyone. You actually hear the track. But pre-save it, because the pre-save link will be there. So with that, with the track and everything, are you looking to? Because obviously you're saying that the new album you're working on at the moment is very vocal driven. Is it something that you're planning on having like a live presence for, or is it?
Absolutely. So at the moment we're kind of putting together a new brew, as it were. I'm kind of putting together a live act, because whilst we have been gigging as a live act, as a duo and a trio for a while. I miss live drums, and I need a front person, and you know, I want to be able to deliver all this material we've done on this record properly. And while we could do it with stems and samples and like a DJ style set, I think there's so many great recorded vocal parts that someone should sing them. But yeah, really, really good. So yeah, that's the idea. Is sort of, we're kind of at a crossroads where yes, we're an electronic act, but we are going to be taking out a full band sort of next year onwards for the tours and all the rest of it.
That's awesome.
And you know, don't get me wrong, I love doing the duo stuff and the trio stuff, and it sounds wicked and people love it. But I'm a bass player and I want to play with a drummer again.
No, that's fair enough. I totally get it.
I think it's that selfish. I just want to play with a drummer again.
That's absolutely fair. I'm a bassist as well, by sort of like my first instrument I learned, kind of thing. If you apart from turntables, if you can count that as an instrument.
Absolutely.
But, I do, and I battled for that years ago. But playing with a live drummer, there is something about that. I mean, I've played along to a lot of my own electronic drums, and it really isn't the same, because you don't have that kind of connection, if you will, with obviously with the machine.
Totally. I mean, that's definitely the trick of us, is with the new live drummer, is working out where they fit in amongst the programmed crazy electronic drums, where the real drums fit in there, and that's quite a thing. But that's a lot of fun, actually, trying to figure that stuff out.
Nice. No, that sounds really cool. I mean, I look forward to seeing this live. This is just one.
I mean, we did have, like I say, in a very early lineup, we had a drummer, and it was fantastic. We had Stu Fisher, who was also in Osrix for a while, and he was Courtney Love's drummer, and he was in Hole and all that sort of stuff. And that was killer. Playing with him was ridiculous. But again, that was a much earlier lineup and a few lifetimes ago. So. But no, Stu's an incredible drummer, but he's a very busy family man now, bless him, which is great.
That's cool. That's cool. It's no, I mean, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing this sort of stuff live, because it's what I've always wanted to kind of have an electronic act live. I had it kind of close with my new metal band. I was the electronics guy, so I was hitting samples and break beats and all that kind of stuff. But no, a lot of bands that I've seen sort of convert from like DJ electronic synth to full band lineup. So you got back, you know, like the Chemists, for instance, started off more as a sort of like drum and bass DJ producer kind of thing, and they kind of molded into a band. And the same with I mean, even Pendulum, to be fair, they started really as a DJ with Rob. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Name's gone. Doesn't matter. The DJ in Pendulum. Let's go. El Hornet. There we go.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, he was part of the core starting, and it was just sort of they go out as either a DJ or as sort of like a couple of guys and a guitar player. But no, that having that crossover and actually balancing those sounds is real key as well. I don't probably battle with that in the studio, but having, you know, like a guitar, for instance. I was discussing this with another producer actually, but like just learning how to balance the electronic sort of crisp and big sounds with guitar and the guitar cab, and making it, you know, whether you wanted to go straight off, you know, the guitar feed, which generally doesn't always sound as good, but you know, having that brightness with it and stuff. Is that something you guys like sort of tackled?
Yeah, I mean, actually, because of the old hearing issues I had, we kind of have a silent stage. So I'm DI'd, Stu's using an Axe-FX on his guitar, so he's digital. So we don't actually have any backline or amps or whatever, which is great for gigging because my back loves it. But so yeah, it's interesting because we kind of have to. There's always a fight between the lead synths, Stu's guitars, and vocals because they're kind of all in that area. So that's kind of a fun thing. But what has actually been more challenging has been the bass stuff because with certainly with Psytrance, like that that electronic synth bass that goes on all the way through it, the rolling Psytrance bass is so integral to the sound. And same as like with 303s and all these dance bass lines, you can't really mess with them. They've got to be there. They're integral. So with the bass guitar, it's like, well, I can't be down there where all that is. So with my stuff, I end up doing a lot of, sort of slapping, tapping, and all the rest of it, like a Poundland Les Claypool. But it kind of gets it all out of the way of the synths, which is great. And I end up just doing more kind of rhythmical bongo nonsense than actual bass notes. But that's kind of been how I've managed to work around that one.
No, that's obviously it's just interesting because I remember battling this back like 20 years ago and sort of, you know, almost conquering it. I mean, I listen back now and I can still hear where it can improve. But like listening to a lot of acts like these days, like yourself, and I had another guy, Toronto Is Broken, on the show as well, and it was sort of recent drum and bass. But like just battling with that analog sound and with the guitars, the bass guitar, the lead guitar, and things like that, and it's just sort of like not so much, well, just making it balance with those bright sounds of electronic, like you say, with the rolling bass of the Psytrance. It's something that's down and you can't play with that as much as you want to try it to like 200 BPM or whatever it is, or even higher. It's going to play havoc with your fingers, or if you're using a pick, it won't last very long.
I mean, I don't think it's a case of not being able to play it. I think it's a case of just those tones and frequencies. You know, if you've got a synth bass line, it's doing that thing with the kick, and it's all side chained, and it's all so precise. And no, you're right. It is playing it as well. I don't know that I could do it that precise. No, you're right.
I could try. I was going to.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now. I was like, hang on a minute. What am I getting myself into? No, I can't do that.
That's all good, man. It's all good. But what else can we kind of like expect from the album? Because like obviously you said like it's gonna be more, you know, you got that vocal presence on there. Do you have any other, obviously you're gonna have other vocalists on there, anyone of note that you can name right now, or is it something you're
I can't name them. There's a very well-known death metal vocalist that's working with us, which is going to be really interesting because I've never tried anything that extreme on the dance music stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. And there's a couple of other names that I think you might know that would be on there. MC Spee's on there again, some of the tracks from him. But most of it is still a little bit of a surprise for now. But in general, the new album's heavier, dancier. The songs are a little bit less sort of long and sprawling. They're kind of a little bit more immediate, I guess. But I'm quite excited. I think it might polarize some people, but that's up to them, you know.
That perception business. When are you planning to sort of unleash the album? What's the sort of like schedule for that?
As long as I get all the parts in by the end of the year, that's the plan. As long by the end of the year, because I know that next year our agent's trying to get us pretty busy with some tours and festivals and whatnot. So I'd really like to get out by the end of the year, and I think we're on schedule. But I'm not going to hold myself out.
That's all right. When you put yourself on festivals, what particular festivals would you like to play? I mean, predominantly, you know, UK based, but obviously European. There's going to be a market obviously there for you as well, pending if we're allowed to travel.
It's interesting that, because up to now we often get put on these space rock hippie circuit because of my Osric's connection and things. And that's great. It really is fun, and I love all of that lot. But I feel that we might have an appeal slightly wider than that. So I'm definitely looking to play some more regular rock and metal festivals.
Okay.
And I know next year we're doing a few of those, so that should be good. But again, I think it would be quite an interesting one. I don't know how many of the rock and metal fans will welcome it or not, but you know, I'm kind of up for the challenge.
They're there to be converted. So
yeah.
No, that's interesting. That's good to know, because it's like it's one of those things where I was curious, because like I can see you guys getting put on like the psych festivals and prog festivals and so, because of that connection, and because of some of your back catalogue as well. It does sort of like scream that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think we're trying to show that we're off on a slightly different tangent at the moment, you know.
Yeah, and I think obviously with the album and stuff that you're going to be releasing, it will show that side of it. Are you planning to release obviously a couple of other singles leading up to the end of the year?
Yeah, there's 2 more planned before it comes out. So I think one of those even has me singing on it, which is the first ever, because I don't even sing in the shower. So yeah. Well, I don't know whether or not I'll inflict that on everyone yet, but yeah, I think that's the next single is one without a guest and with me.
Okay.
So, yeah, we should see about that.
See how that goes down. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, man, I've got a couple of questions left for you, if that's all right, and we can get on with the rest of your day. But what I want to find out, because it's the first time on the show, I want to find out what your 3 most pivotal albums are. So I'm not talking about, you know, what you think is the best album of all time. It's the ones that kind of like changed you or put you towards certain things in your musical career. So you know, the one that made you want to pick up a bass guitar, for instance, just as an example. If you've got like 3 albums that are throughout your life that have been real pivotal, those are the ones I'm after. So
okay, the first one is Sailing the Seas of Cheese by Primus.
Nice.
I was 18 and I was studying bass in London, and there was a friend of mine that I'd met at the time, like a pro session bass player.
Yeah.
And to that point, my idea of what bass guitar was kind of the same as everyone else's and pretty pedestrian. And then he lent me this Primus album, and I was 18, and I just went home, put it on, and yeah, that basically just changed everything from that point onwards. That everything changed. That was a huge turning point, finding out that the bass guitar could actually be interesting.
Yeah. No, that is Les Claypool. I mean, God,
goodness. Yeah, he's got a lot to answer for with a lot of people, I think. And the second one probably is an Osric's album, actually, because before I was in the band, they were my favourite band. I was obsessed with them. So the probably Waterfall Cities is probably the one that kind of soundtracked that period of my life when I was really experimenting in various musical directions and everything else. And definitely also the one that got me interested in synthesis as well.
Nice.
So there's that. And then a third one, interesting. It would have to be something like it's actually an old classic rock album. It was a Beck Bogert and the Peace with Jeff Beck and Tim Bogert on there. And that was when I was playing in Firebird, because we were like a hard rock trio.
Yeah.
And like I kind of used that album as my blueprint, because as you may be aware, like in a sort of power trio idea, when the guitar player goes off on a solo, the bass player has all this space to fill.
Yes.
So that was the album that I kind of looked at as to the blueprint of that, because Tim Bogart's playing was just really, really supportive, but then could fill up all the room in the world when Jeff Beck was soloing. So for me, it was like, right, okay. So again, it was another bass album where I kind of learned, okay, I can step out a bit more than I am. Okay, cool. So yeah, probably those 3 as far as musical direction and stuff.
That's I mean, a solid 3. I mean, Primus, like if it comes to bass players, that is the kind of like as the god of bass on that front. Yes. There's not much more I can say on that front. It is very much that. I mean, Osric as well. Like, I mean, obviously you've been part of them, so you know them kind of in and out. But yeah, they are highly skilled, highly kind of like just influential. Like, kind of, it's really understated as well. I feel it's sort of like not everyone's heard of them, but the musicians have heard of them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to kind of like, you know, general public, like some people like, what I've found anyway is like, oh, who, you know, then they listen.
Yeah.
And it's just that kind of like untapped kind of like thing on there. But I mean, they've got loads of albums out as well, and
Oh yeah. I mean, I was in the band for 5 minutes, really, in the grand scheme of things. They've had, a lot of lineup changes, but it's just killer stuff. It's killer. It really is.
It is, and I mean Jeff Beck, the one that whole mentioning there is I mean, again, it's sort of learning where that bass can fit in. Like you say, a lot of people have that kind of pedestrian thing where it's just like that dum 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 in the background.
Which it has its place totally, of course.
But like filling the gaps with it, like being more creative with it, being more than just a piece of the furniture, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can, like, obviously things like blues and jazz have always had that element to it where you can kind of like, take the bass for a walk, if you will. I think where they can, and it works for every instrument in that genre. So you can just say, flute solo, sax solo, jazz flute, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, it's that is like, it's definitely like finding those elements in music, and those are great. I'm gonna go back and listen to I'm gonna go listen to some Primus, actually, because
that's a really good idea.
I'm gonna go do that and see how that works for me on that front. My bass, which I haven't picked up in about a year, so it's probably gonna do that. But yeah, cool. So yeah, final question: what are your hobbies away from music? So when you're not doing anything like that, what do you get up to?
I currently have a love-hate relationship with skateboarding.
Nice.
I absolutely love it. I rediscovered it when my kids took it up, because I skated a bit when I was younger. I rediscovered it a few years ago, and it worked. I love it. It's a great meditation because you can't think about anything else when you're skating or you fall off. Yep. So you have to clear your mind and think of what you're doing. But like I say, it's a love-hate thing because currently I've got a broken finger and a torn rotator cuff, and all the things I need to play guitar and keyboards, I keep damaging. So it's one of them. Yeah. So yeah, at the moment I'm kind of, my left hand's getting really good on keyboard because this one's useless currently. Yeah.
I can totally get behind that. I about 5 or 6 years ago, I purchased a skateboard from a yard sale.
Brilliant.
I was living over in the States. I got it for like 50 cents. I was like, oh, you know what? I used to skateboard a lot as a kid. How hard could it be to get back on it? And it turns out it's pretty hard to get back on it. You're right. You have to clear your mind. But like, obviously, I'm a bit bigger than I was when I was like 16 to 20 years old. And a lot older and probably a lot stupider by the sounds of it. But as soon as I got on the skateboard, I fell off. Like, literally, it went from underneath me. So the skateboard flew down the driveway, and I was laying on my back in the garage, kind of like, ow. But it's something I do want to get back into because you're right. It's very, like, it has that meditation aspect to it because you literally have to clear your mind. It's the one that you have to concentrate on it because you will hurt yourself. Well, you're living proof currently that.
But I'm also an idiot, so I know that at the minute I can, I will be on it again. So I've just got to wear more pads, probably. Like an American football sort of outfit, maybe, or something.
Yeah, wrap some foam around you, get some of that insulation foam off the walls there.
Yeah, I think that's it. Any other hobbies though? Actually, this one's really nerdy and quite geeky. I like my 3 boys are all really into Warhammer and Games Workshop stuff. Excellent. So I don't play the games. I did when I was younger, but I love painting their figures for them because they haven't got the patience for it. So yeah, I like painting little miniatures when I've got nothing else to do.
That's awesome. I mean, that's something I do as well. I got back into it. Because I lived in Seattle. I moved back and they re-released a game called Necromunda, which I used to play so much of when I was like 13, 12, 13, 14, 15, all 3 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm a bit older. I can afford this. Get this box set. And it just threw me back in completely. So every time they drop something, I buy it. And
I bought the new Blood Bowl when they dropped that last year, I think.
I got the rule book. I already had a Blood Bowl pitch. I've got a Blood Bowl pitch and a couple of teams, but I bought the 2 rule books. I got the new rule book and the Death Zone as well. They've just released as well. So
brilliant.
But yeah, no, that's something that I normally, if I'm in my usual dungeon, it's behind me. I've got like Blood Bowl box. I've got Necromunda. I've got figures kind of.
Fantastic.
So lockdown's been great to catch up with my backlog. I tell you that. But I've got a whole new backlog now because they released a whole bunch of stuff and I just haven't had a chance to put it together. But I'm kind of hoping to get some games in now that we're kind of back open.
Yes, yeah, and you can actually be in a room with someone.
Yeah, exactly. My local game shop has started opening up, so I'm going to sort of start going there again and getting back into it. But yeah, no, it's a great time to the painting aspect. Again, it is quite, you know, what's the word? Again, it's that kind of like meditation side of things, very relaxing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a chronic overthinker, and yeah, if I don't have something aside from the music, I do end up just going a little bit mad. So yeah, skating or painting, anything that just makes you clear your head.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same, mate. I'm exactly the same. It's awesome. Well, Graham, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Good luck with all the music and everything. Good luck with the single. It's people. It's called Olympus Has Fallen. Olympus Has Fallen, featuring Benji from Skindred, and it's out on the 24th of August. And yeah, people go listen to it, pre-save it, go download it, go do what you do. However you consume your music, people, just go do that. It's so many options now. There's no excuse. But yeah, no, thank you very much, man. I look forward to hearing more music.
Amazing. Well, thanks for having me, man, and thanks for the cool questions as well. It's been really nice to chat with you.
Oh no, it's all good, man. It's all good. It's absolutely my pleasure. I mean, thank Emma for thinking about it and sending you my way, because it's nice to get those emails where people are thinking about, you know, different show, because I get sent like music that won't fit my show, won't fit what I do, and I try and pass that on, because not everyone's gonna get that through. And obviously Emma, thankfully, thought of me to send away, and that's thank her for
perfect.
that.
So. Glad she did, yeah.
So, no, that's all good, man. Well, you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, and you.
And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys live. That'll be the next thing, and get to meet in person, because I'm getting a bit of Zoom fatigue. So we're gonna
as soon as we announce some dates and whatnot, I'll ping them over to you, and that'd be great.
Yes, do that. That's awesome. Cool. Well, Graham, thank you very much, man.
Cheers. Take care. Have a good day.
Have a good one,
man.
Bye-bye.
Bye.